Sari_bot said Sari_bot is here. Sarabo arrive. Stream Elements said Artextric is now live. Streaming art, drifting around, trying to do something. Bot Rick's official said be a support hero today. By using commands like support.
Dude, like that would. Oh my god, I do too. Yeah, no, I mean like Nintendo Power. Like I used to be so in on that. Like I have all the old Nintendo Power. I never got rid of any of them.
Gaming journalism isn't what it once was.
No, it's
In
not.
fact, just mentioning the words gaming journalism these days seems to only provoke negative reactions.
Ben Smile
This is
said
how
was
badly
Science.
these companies have damaged their own reputation.
Yeah.
Almost
Ben
every
Smile
week,
said
I see
Tone.
the same sentence pop up somewhere online that says,
Hey
"Remember,
Ben,
you
what's
don't
going
hate
on?
gaming journalists enough."
It's bad.
Whether it's in the comment section on a YouTube video, or a Facebook or Instagram post, or even on X, gamers seem to be unified in his thoughts across the internet. It's a clear sign.
I don't think anybody likes gaming journalism anymore. Like even the gaming journalists don't like themselves. Just read their Twitter bios if you think they do.
That gamers genuinely wouldn't mind if the majority of
Yeah.
gaming journalism outlets just disappeared at this point.
Ben
They have
Smile
been.
said none much making ups for my manga.
Yeah, they're done.
Gamers used to
I
love
hear
the
ya.
likes of IGN, for example, because it felt like they were one of us. But now to
Yeah.
see them lay off a lot more of their staff this month has sparked some interesting reactions online.
Dude,
A lo-
people, that's one of my favorite things is that when layoffs happen at a company that people don't like, everybody is like spamming like W. They're like, yes, finally fire them all. Yeah, but I hope the job losses get worse. Oh, they will. They absolutely will. What's going to end up happening is that the job losses will continuously get more and more extreme until it's basically just done, right? I mean, they're not going to be able to do anything.
Deja todo lo que estés haciendo y ve a Pickup.
A large part of the gaming community celebrated this as if this result is a form of justice, whereas another portion of the gaming community were saddened by the idea that the IGN they once loved has allowed itself to fall this far. So how did we get here? How is it that gaming journalists, much like many AAA gaming companies, have become so disconnected from their audience that it's come to this? Let's rewind for a second
It's
to what
super easy. How? I mean, they allowed people that had agendas to write things. It's the same thing that's happened to mainstream journalism. I think the reason why it's more pervasive and it's more it's more identified in gaming is because it's such a microcosm of people that are hyper fixated on it. So you have like a very high degree of competency and awareness, and that causes people to think and like realize the errors and the sloppiness because it's niche, right? And so here's the thing. I said this before. How many times have you read an article or something like that in a mainstream publication?
Let me see what I
And
can
it turned
do.
out that it's total bullshit because you're an expert in that field.
Okay, here we
Now,
go.
my skeptical mind tells me that if every article that I read that I understand is bullshit, then I would also assume that every article that I read that I don't understand is also bullshit. I just don't know it.
Jonas McGee asks Cena Starty's animation.
a lot of us remember
Ben
as the
Smile
golden
asks
age
what
of
we
gaming
drawing today.
journalism.
Yep,
Back
the
then,
movies.
gaming
Who
magazines
animated?
like
Magazines, I mean,
Nintendo
yeah.
Power, PC
Jonas
Gamer,
McGee said
and
I
Game
saw
Informer
I had
Asmongo
all
react to
those
it like 2 years
magazines.
ago.
Yep.
They were a gateway into the world we loved.
Well,
They had this
they were, dude,
2
this
years ago,
was
huh?
gaming culture. Like, these magazines were gaming culture
How
themselves.
old is this anyway?
unique way of connecting with us, speaking a language
Yeah.
that every gamer just
I
Yeah,
saw
you
it
can get
react
exist
to
with
it
the
like
This
2
was
years
Rick's
ago.
official
especially
said be a
important at the
support
time
hero
because of
today.
how niche
React
gaming
to
was.
what
looking at
exactly?
/ donation.
Damn, bro, he is ready. Shit.
In most households. I'll never forget
Jonas
those moments
McGee
when
said
my mom would
Astartes,
arrive back from the
upscale.
monthly grocery shop. I'd race to the car because I
Astartes.
knew she'd picked up a copy of either the
Yep.
PC format or the NAG
I'm
magazine
not sure
for
what
me.
that is.
See, nice.
Not
see,
totally
for
sure what
me,
that
it was,
is.
I would go to, do you guys remember Albertsons? Like, it was a grocery store, a grocery chain. And I remember we would walk into Albertsons
see.
and there'd be like the magazine racks. and like halfway through, or like while my mom was waiting in the checkout line, I would go and sit down and read the gaming magazines.
Jonas McGee said fan-made animation. One guy
I would
spent 6
sit down
years
in
making
front of
alone.
the
They
magazine
hung
it
section
and made it
and
canon.
read them.
Or
Those
some
were the
African
days.
variants of
Oh,
gaming
okay.
magazines. It was such a small thing, but my mom knew that it made me happy for the rest of the week. I was hooked on those magazines. Over time, I'd even figure out which of the writers had the same taste in games as me, and I'd always look out for their names in these magazines.
I never did that.
Gaming
I never
journalists
did
used
that.
to deliver an amazing
No.
experience that a lot of us will always remember. When the internet took over, sites like
I
IG
don't even think that it was gaming journalists. I think that it was just like the time whenever you were a kid, and it was just like
Jonas
a innocent
McGee said worth
hobby
a watch seems good.
that just had people writing about it, that people just really liked the content. It was basically like reading Nintendo Power as a kid in the 90s. Like, I'm sorry, but like watching Ninja play Fortnite is not even remotely close to as good as it was. Not like, I know, you know, some kids might have, you know, fond memories. It was not even remotely close.
So basically, what he's saying is like anything back then was like video game related as a kid. It was anything video game related. It was almost mind blowing that anyone cared enough to like write an article about a video game. I guess I understand where he's coming from with that because like I used to, as a kid, and I used to go to the grocery store with my parents to get like groceries or stuff, or they have to go buy something at like a Walmart or a anywhere that has like any store that had like magazines, and I always would run to the area where there was video games. So I would like I wouldn't even read the magazine. I would just look at the pictures and see what was the coolest pictures in it at the time. So when I was walking around with them, I was just
Jonas
looking at the
McGee
books.
asks, care to react to it?
So no, I'm not doing reactions today. I'm just drifting today.
GameSpot and GameFAQs kept the energy alive. They weren't just about reviews and news.
I'll save it
they
for
were about
Tuesday, though.
community. Forums were always buzzing with debates,
Yep.
walkthroughs, and theories. Early reviews felt like it was simply gamers talking to gamers, because that's exactly what it was. It wasn't just about the games, it was about the culture. That
Well,
era
it went so hard that
Jonas McGee
I
said
mean, the way
seems
that
good.
a lot of the WoW devs got hired is they were people that complained about EverQuest.
Coffee Fan
and Blizzard
2024
saw
said
that and
hello,
they
how
said,
your
well,
day?
God, these guys really
Hello.
don't fucking like the game. They really think
Doing
they
well.
can do it better?
Just-
Well, let's find out.
Just
And then
drifting
they
today.
got hired. Jeff Kaplan, I
drawing
think, is a good
today.
example of that.
was about celebrating games.
Just
Big
running
events
around.
like E3 felt magical, where developers, journalists,
Jonas
and players
McGee said
came
need the dark
together
theme
to
on
share
YouTube.
in the excitement of announcements and reveals.
theme.
It was a time when the line between fans and journalists was blurred, because at the end of the day, journalists were gamers too. But like all golden ages,
I kept it
it
on
didn't
white
last
for a
forever.
good reason.
By the 2010s, cracks started to show. Traffic became the priority and sensationalism took over.
Yeah.
Why? Because ad revenue now relied on
No,
clicks.
that's
And when your business model depends on clicks, trust and quality often disappear. News,
Coffee
reviews,
Fan
and entertainment
2024
were
said
no
like your
longer the
artwork
product.
so far. I wish I
You
could be
and
that
I
good.
became the product.
anyone could.
I
It's
think
like
this is the problem.
anyone could. It's not like
Methionylthronylglutaminylglutaminilarginisoluk said I love to watch your streaming more if you draw more diverse characters.
that really depends. But anyone can draw just fine. It's just you just need to put practice. That's all I did. I didn't do anything special. I didn't go to school or anything. I just practiced.
With like all types of media, is that when you get
Bot
paid
Rick's
by
official
views,
said be a support hero
there's going
today
to be a like
by using
every
commands
type
like
of monetization
/donation.
has a dark side, or it has like a negative outcome as well. But I think that really like so when gaming journalism, and I'm sure he's going to say this, Gamergate killed gaming journalism. That's what it was. And if you look at the graphs of like all these websites, you'll see that that's exactly what happened. Is that they were still growing until like Gamergate. That
Okay.
was the end of it.
So what should I do?
Majority of news outlets, not just gaming journalists, quickly learned that
Okay, so this
sensationalism
I'll do.
equals
Nightbot said be a
profit.
support
And
hero
where there's
today
sensationalism,
by using
there is
commands
disconnect.
like
It wasn't just
/donation.
clickbait though. There was also this new phenomenon of first come, first served. Instead of publishing a monthly magazine where journalists could spend more time refining and crafting something thought-provoking and entertaining, a never-ending
Ben
rat
Smile
race
said Ben
began.
Smile donated
Companies now competed
$1,000.
to get previews, reviews, and news out
Really
faster
fun.
than the competition. Articles started feeling
Ben
rushed,
Smile
and
said he
reviews
This
JK.
is something that happened with YouTube as well. Like, how many of you guys remember, or you've played a game where people try to get guides out for new content as soon as possible, and they do it at the
Methional
cost of the
Thronal
content
Thronal
itself.
Damn and I
So, like,
large
the guide will
Neosoluk
come
said I
out,
do
but it'll be
part-time art.
really shitty,
Not as
or
dope
it
as
won't
you
be
though.
complete because it won't be ready, but like the title says that it's
Just
the full complete thing. Yeah,
practice and
exactly right.
everything will make
And
sense
so that's a
after a
huge
while.
issue. The PoE2 shit?
I,
Yeah, the
you know
FX
what? I'm not even gonna just say that because a lot of people tend to. Nice artwork. Thank you, Anime. 1997. I appreciate it. From Instagram. I would like to say to most people, when I say practice, I'm not just saying just mindlessly draw, because I think that's what a lot of people think when I'm talking about. When I say practice, I mean practice specifically what you're into. Don't just draw random things. So like, don't draw like a bunch of like toes and then you're drawing a bunch of watches and don't draw random things. Draw things that you enjoy and something that you would what's the right word?
Ryuga Samurai said good evening everyone.
Hey Bri. Anything that would be considered, what's the right word? Anything that you have a interest in. So if, like, say for instance you like Sonic characters or like drawing Sonic characters, the best thing for you to do is just focus on that particular thing. Don't try to draw like cars and stuff because it's gonna be pointless. Because you drawing a bunch of cars is like nicheify your studies. That's what I'm saying. If you nicheify your studies, then things will turn out fine.
I think, yeah, people are really critical about them for that reason.
Becoming increasingly more disconnected from gamers. It was clear that it didn't feel like it was gamers talking to gamers anymore.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people have grown so...
Why men are in trouble. I wish Resident Evil 2 let me be a more compassionate hero. Yeah, I think that also, like, this was another big difference, is that when you looked at the old magazines, it was really people talking about the game quality, and you didn't really have as much people that were like, it was more of a celebration of the games and a discussion of the game at like a factual level. Then you started seeing, and I think this is another element of it, is that personal opinions of
said
things
sitting
are
hours on a
generally
chair
more
causes
popular
back pain and
because it's
spine
easier
diseases.
to relate to them because there's
Only it cause the way you're sitting might cause that problem, but you should stretch though. So if you're hunched over, then you're gonna have problems.
a lower barrier to entry. So what ends up happening is that people start making content about like their personal opinions on things. Those videos get more popular, and before you know it, that's all you see.
Yeah.
So that's really what it is. Girl writers. Well, I mean, I think that there were women writers for the old magazines
what I
too.
should do?
I just think that like what really
Just thought of
happened is
something.
that like you had people that used to be basically disseminating
Methional
information,
Thronal
and then they
Damn
started
and I
giving
large
their
Neosoluk
viewpoints
said I'm
instead.
focusing more on my health, not on
of
art.
this. Just look
I
at the recent
gotcha.
reviews around Concord.
You know what I
Self-proclaimed
should do?
critics gave this game a 7 out of 10 or even an 8 out of 10.
Hold on.
While literally the
Jesus.
entire gaming community rejected this game into oblivion. Saying these reviews felt out of touch is an understatement.
You know what I should do? I should work
obviously a
on.
disconnect between these journalists and actual
Where is
gamers.
it?
Well, there's an intentional disconnect. They do it on purpose because they don't want to. They want to push an agenda. They want you to believe something. And this is the same with mainstream media too.
Methional Thronal
Like I've seen it
Damn
happen
and I
with
large
numerous different
Neosoluk said
events.
I
just
use
got
Think
high.
about how many known
Okay.
lies mainstream media
I
just reports
messaged you
regularly,
earlier, but I wasn't
and they
too
never
sure.
really try to correct them or fix them. That's what happens all the time. They all know, yeah,
You're
exactly.
still up.
And so they're not trying to, like, their message is more important than the truth. That's basically the way that they look at it.
You are who I think you are. You should give me another chance.
I don't think we're alike at all.
Then there's the issue of
True.
access journalism. Game publishers started controlling the narrative more aggressively, using embargoes and restrictions to shape coverage.
The catch-22 of video game journalism. What is this? What was the other article? Gaming the system, how games journalist lost his job over a negative review.
Did you
Yeah,
eat?
I'm not sure about that specifically. It depends on why.
Give yourself
But
that, Mama.
yeah, I think that definitely happens. And that's one of the big weaknesses for anything. Concord got bad reviews. No, there were a lot of very positive reviews for Concord, actually.
Coverage. If a journalist criticized a game,
Yeah.
they risked losing
Yes,
early
okay.
access or exclusives in the future.
Who's
That's
home?
one of the big weaknesses, and I think that that's actually what the crux of Gamergate was actually about, is you have people that are effectively participants or beneficiaries of access journalism, and you do have some platforms and publications that don't take advantage of this, but back then especially, they were very few and far between. So you
Okay.
had people, and this is still an issue now, like, so I'll give you an example. I think that, like, think about the interaction and everything that I had with Elon Musk, you know, today on Twitter, right? And yesterday and, you know, past week or so, is that there is an implicit benefit to not covering things of people that could give you some
person come?
advantage in the future, right? And so
Look,
that's
said
what ends
Tom.
up happening, is that you have people that don't give feedback or they don't say certain things because it's more important for them to maintain a hegemony or maintain a relationship than tell the truth. And I think that sees it constantly. No, it's a 62 on Metacritic. I get your point, but Concord got slaughtered by everyone. I think a 62, like, I mean, a 62 for Concord.
Okay.
I feel like it was a
Did you go meet him?
It was like a 0.62 by the player base, though, right? I mean, so I think that's a pretty huge difference.
Big ideas don't come easy.
And when you're in a state of competing for clicks, losing that access can be devastating
Yeah.
for your
Okay.
company. So do you tell the truth and risk backlash from
You
the
okay?
publishers? Or do you play it safe and
safe,
lose credibility
at
with
least?
your readers?
Yeah.
Definitely
you're
not
home,
an
but-
easy decision. This
Well,
You
look at
okay?
this. That's me. And so
Oh,
I
I
think
know
that
you're
it's
okay.
also you have, like, there's definitely pressure from publishers and developers, and I think also here's another really big issue is that if you're personal friends with publishers and developers and the people that work in the industry,
Okay.
you're going
How's
to
your
just
eye?
passively give them more leeway and more credibility because you know them personally, and so you're seeing it from their perspective, but that might not be a perspective that the rest of the audience sees.
Connect has definitely brought a major shift over the years. As trust in traditional outlets faded, a lot of gamers turned to the
Yep.
reviews and opinions of YouTubers. Creators like Angry Joe and the amazing Total Biscuit
Yep.
felt authentic. They didn't need publisher approval, and they weren't afraid to tell it like it is. If a game was broken, they'd call it
That's
out.
the other
if
one,
it was
no?
great, you can tell their praise was genuine.
Like, this probably is like probably one of the greatest games I ever played my whole life. It's like, it's just so good. Elden Ring is a top 10 of all time generational game. It's not even a question. It's so good, man. Man, stop, man, stop. I hate this game, bro.
Now, this raises a big question. Why do companies like IGN still have an audience?
Okay.
If you've watched my previous videos, you would know that I'm just a casual gamer.
Yeah.
I don't always have time to sit down and actually play games, let alone dive into the drama around gaming journalism. So, let's say I see a game advertised from a franchise I loved as a kid or teenager.
You're gonna
or
play
from
it,
a company
yeah.
I used to praise and trust. Naturally, I would want to go where I've always gone for insight on these games. IGN, PC Gamer, or Game Informer. And honestly, most casual
Kotaku or
gamers would
Polygon,
probably
yeah.
stop their research right there. How do I know this? Because most of my friends, who are dads, husbands, accountants, financial advisors, tradesmen, and just generally busy guys, still read and trust IGN. Simply because they always have. Although the funny
IGN, I will say, is probably the most favorable. Like, of all of the different publications, I think IGN is the least biased, but I do think that they're extremely biased as well. I think Black Myth Wukong is a great example of that. But they are the best bad one.
thing is, some of them have actually now stopped reading
It's my
IGN
opinion.
because of what happened with Dragon Age: The Veil God. I have a good friend who grew up loving the Dragon Age series. Years later, a new sequel, The Veil God, was announced, and he got pretty excited. Ahead of launch, he checks IGN's reviews and he sees a 9 out of 10.
Amazing.
Now, bear in mind, he does not keep up with the
Wow.
politics behind any of this stuff because he is simply a very busy guy.
Yeah,
Now,
this is the thing too, is that he's right about this, is that you get the normies who get hoodwinked by this kind of stuff. Because like they're like, this guy is, you know, like we said, like like an accountant, right? Like he's not thinking, he's not watching, you know, like, oh, well, they're giving this game, like there's a non-binary character in the game. They're not even thinking about that, right?
this confirms his excitement. There are no warnings, no caveats, just another
Yeah.
Dragon Age with a 9 out of 10 from IGN.
Of course.
So the game launches, and he finally gets to play it. And he is obviously blindsided. The game does not live up to its predecessors. It even feels like the developers sacrificed the gritty story writing of the franchise just to push a progressive agenda in a very heavy-handed, cringeworthy way.
So
And you've also got to keep in mind that there's this idea that normies are more accepting of like non-binary stuff. I actually think that the people on the internet and like internet users are much more progressive on average than the average population. Like way, way, way more.
Oh, I'm non-binary.
And IGN gave it a higher review
Yeah.
score than any of the previous titles. A lot of
Incredible.
these big outlets have obviously let people down, and more and more gamers are starting to look elsewhere for honest opinions. So where does that leave us? Is gaming journalism gonna eventually disappear?
They are an endangered species right now. They're like the white rhinos. There's like 7 of them left. And so what's happening is that there's almost no gaming journalism outlets that are left now. And if you think about the amount of people that are writing articles for these websites, it's less than 100 people probably at this point. Like it's basically dead. Like it is. It's very, very close to being dead. Now, I thought about making my own website, but the problem is that it would probably require me to interact with other people. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to do this because I don't like talking and dealing with people. But functionally, like if all I had to do was set up a foundation for it and like set up like what I thought would work, and then that's it, I'm done, I would do that. Donkey called them out a while ago. Yeah, sure, right? But I think that's what's going to happen a lot.
I don't think it will, but I do believe gamers are finally holding these companies accountable. I do believe as gaming journalism has declined, we have definitely seen a rise in trusted YouTubers and indie creators who are doing something traditional
Ryuga Samurai
outlets
said more
struggle with.
relatable.
They
Yeah.
embrace the difficult conversations
Very much so.
around
Cactus
gaming,
Blossom
and
said
a
that
lot
looks
of them
awesome.
do it
Thank
well.
you.
Let's face it, games aren't a one-size-fits-all. What I love about a game might be what you hate about it, and that's fine. Independent creators
Well,
own...
that's fundamentally what makes independent content creators on YouTube a better source. Not to mention the fact that watching a video for a video game is just a baseline. Like theoretically, if Nintendo Power could have been like, you know, like in Harry Potter, where like they would open up the newspaper and it would actually play videos with the paper. If Nintendo Power could have done that with embedded YouTube videos in the year 1995, they would have done that. The only reason they couldn't do that is because it was not technologically possible to do that. So in like a perfect world, it would have effectively been YouTube videos with text in between videos, right? No technology. Yes, exactly. And so that's what I think is happening a lot, is that it's just simply a better medium. And
Cactus
also,
Blossom said my brother is
the way
obsessed
that
with
video
Sonic,
game
so he would love
websites-
this.
Yeah.
their criteria for what's valuable and what's important doesn't reflect what a player thinks is valuable or important. So like if this person thinks that it's really good that they had trans
Sonic.
character in the game, your average
Sonic the
Walmart
Hedgehog.
American is going to either not care or think it's bad. Because they don't think like that at all. Like this is it's a closed system of people that are in their own bubble, and their values no longer represent the majority of people inside of their audience.
their biases. When they rave about a game, it feels like a recommendation from a fellow gamer,
Yeah.
not some detached, objective critic. And that honesty, it resonates. On top of that, creators build
Well, also, yeah, there it is. Also, it's easier, like IGN has a bunch of people writing articles for them. So like you don't really have like one definitive viewpoint that you're getting out of IGN. because, or Kotaku or any of these other websites, because they just have like, there's some people that write that think this about a game, other people that write that think that about a game. But like with a individual like myself, or, you know, any other like Scale Up or something like that, you're getting really the opinion of one consistent person. So like, for example, like the person who writes the review for Dragon Age Veilguard might also write a review and have totally different criteria than somebody else for the game for that audience. You see kind of what I'm saying? And so like in following an individual creator is much easier to do than following an individual writer.
Communities. They're in the comments, hosting live streams, and engaging with their audience.
Oh, that's a double-edged sword, because like it's weird, because if you only have one particular writer that everyone starts liking because of his or her viewpoint, it's going to be some, I don't even say the word bias, but I don't even think it's going to be kind of skewed, because now we'll have to pay that person not only just more, but we'll have to expect that person to make every review just to guarantee that not only people are going to look and watch, or where the case may be, but it's going to lead to a situation where that person can't do every article, right? And that's where having more and different voices may muddy the waters, because now we have to get used to another new writer or a previous writer that doesn't really think the same way as I do. So it's going to come off, because if they haven't played like a certain game, like say Chrono Trigger or Resident Evil, or I don't know, some Street Fighter game or something, are those all Capcom games? I don't think so. Or something like that. It's gonna have a situation where if that person's not familiar with the lore, or they're not familiar, or have that genuine care for said game, or have that nostalgic, or that understanding of that baseline fandom for it, it's gonna come off very, I want to say the word robotic, but it's gonna come off very not as genuine as you may want it to feel like. And that's where that problem kind of comes in. It's kind of like a monkey's paw, because like the more writers you have, the more content you have. The more content you have, it might lead to a situation that not every writer is going to think exactly the same on some particular game, and that can lead to problems. So
these traditional outlets just don't anymore. That direct connection is a big reason why so many gamers...
This is why most people might listen to like an Asmongold compared to someone who's like he said, like an IGN or a GameSpot, if that's still around, or I don't know, Game Informer. I think they're gone too. So like, or Kotaku, or whatever the case may be. So like, they'll listen to one person because it's coming from the one source that everyone knows, respects, or even likes. So that comes in as a strange monkey paw for a company. So yeah.
Are turning to independent content creators for their reviews and insights. So, what does the future of gaming journalism look like? The truth is, it's unclear, but one thing is for sure: the old model of sensationalism, clickbait headlines, and ignoring what the audience really cares about is fading fast. Gamers are...
I don't think that sensationalism is fading, but I think that the amount of people's attention, like the problem
Cactus
is that
Blossom said have a great
I think
weekend.
a lot of the types of ideas
too, bro.
that they tried to push are just simply losing in the free marketplace of ideas, and people don't really find any importance or value in them in the way that they used to. I think that's really what's going on here. That's actually the reason why.
Tired of feeling like we're being sold something that is not genuine. We want transparency, we want honesty, and we want to feel connected to the people reviewing our favorite games.
The sad thing about all this is that genuineness can go so far when it comes to the internet, but I think genuineness...
Always watching YouTube official said, hey, that his awesome work looks just like Sonic.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think the problem with, and this is an internet problem, I think, because like if you think of it now, the reason why things felt more genuine, like within the 80s, 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and even the early 2000s or mid 2000s, is because yes, the internet was pretty prevalent in like the late 80s, I think mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s. But it didn't really take foothold till like 2007. where gaming became much more mainstream because like online streaming, online gaming, and all that stuff. That's where that comes in, and because of that, the internet being more accessible, more easier to access, more smoother to run on, it was easier for people to pretend to be genuine, tend to be genuine. You know what I'm saying? Because because a lot of people can't. I don't say a lot, but majority of people can tell when someone's being genuine to a certain degree, even without knowing them too much. But there's some people who are really good at faking it, so you cannot really know if someone's being like 100% with you. It's gonna take some time sometimes to just like really analyze and watch what consists between you and them, and see how they are consistent with what they do and say, right? So like for instance, like in the 90s, if you wanted to play like say Dungeons and Dragons or whatever the case may be, and you had a group of friends who wanted to play or was really interested, 9 times out of 10 you would actually genuinely believe that they was interested, because it was not like there's a monetary gain or there was some type of clout winning and learning Dungeons and Dragons or some specific game or anything, right? So like if there was no TikTok, there was nothing, there was not like I have to like, it's like some of these e-girls who put on cosplays and cosplay as your favorite or sexy anime girl, 9 times out of 10 you might think they might be into that because they're dressed like it, but now these days you can't even tell, because they're just probably doing for a check, or they're getting a lot of clout, and that's it. And I'm pretty sure if you ask majority of them, I'm not saying all, but a good majority of them, lore bits on those characters that they're dressed as, they probably don't know shit. I'm not saying all, but that probably goes for some guys too who cosplays as some characters. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the non-genuineness starts creeping in. And I think the term for this is usually like grifter or something like that, a form of grifter. I think that's where that actually comes from. People are pretending to like be into something when they're not really into it. They're just doing it for the clout. They're doing it for the money, or a case may be, if I'm saying that right. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it to be used in that particular situation, most cases. So that's why genuineness is probably the best currency that you can have when it comes to like making content, or just making any content. It doesn't matter if it's like political, video games, financial, or anything. If you come across genuine to people, they'll more likely follow you. 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10. But if they feel like you're not as genuine as you claim to be, or you're not being as transparent as you're trying to be, or whatever you're trying to convey to your audience, whether you're trying to sell something or you're trying to get them to a call to action or whatever, it's pretty much out the window at that point, So that's usually what that is. So it goes one way or another. So
as a gamer, I have to say the worst thing I've seen
Hot
gaming.
take: gamers are the problem with gaming.
Journalists do is turn on the core audience and paint us as villains. Instead of journalists do,
gamers are terrible people and we should stop being okay with it.
Well, what makes them terrible?
Introducing the new Ego Power Plus 2-stage snowblower, a heavy-duty workhorse with unmatched power from the number.
Okay.
And
this website is called The Gamer. Again, this is like going to work at a steakhouse if you're a vegan. I can't imagine being this stupid.
Yeah, right.
And paint us as villains. Instead of engaging with the community,
not sure if my 15 layers meant that gamers are bad people.
Journalists have chosen to throw accusations at gamers, stating we are the problem with the gaming industry. Gaming journalism won't disappear, but it will have to evolve. The outlets that survive will be the ones that understand the shift and reconnect with their audience. It's not just about getting the first scoop anymore. It's about providing real, thoughtful coverage that respects the community and acknowledges the diverse opinions within it. It's got
I think that, I mean, just to be totally honest,
It's funny how being a games journalist was not respectable in the early 2000s, and it became respectable, and when it became respectable, it turned right back around being non-respectable. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Like, when you said you was a gaming journalist, like, in the 90s, 80s, or yeah, I don't even think that was a term, but if you was, like, a gaming journalist, and you said you review games, or you did, like, articles on games, people will probably laugh you out of the room, especially if you're, like, next to, like, a genuine, like, writer, or some type of, news person, or something like that, who does, like, real articles for, like, magazines, for, like, New York Times and stuff. They would just probably laugh you out of the room and say, get the fuck out of this place, right? But now, that term is actually a real thing, but it's a most hated thing now. That's the most ironic thing in it. Because, like, they worked their asses off to, like, become a gaming journalist to make it, like, legitimate, right? And it became legitimatized, I can't say it right, but legitimatized to a point where it is a profession, it is taken seriously, but the people who got to that point became an activist in the process, and because they became an activist, they lost all sense of credibility at that point, because they instead of reviewing the game, they reviewed, like, annoying things that no one cared about in said game, or wasn't important in said game, or championed the things that was in that game that was not important to said game. So that's where that problem literally came in. So, like, you know, and other businesses and bad business practices coming in, making them say things that shouldn't have been championed too much, or, like, pay them off to give good reviews in general. So, and wine and dine them. So that was already muddied with the waters in itself. So
I think that you just can't, if you bring in identity politics to, like, video game stuff at this point,
it's over.
You're asking to lose.
Yep.
Yes, of course, there's always going to be people that are okay with it, but there has been such a massive backlash from it that if you talk about any identity politics, like, I think that the Kingdom Come Deliverance controversy, and I'll talk about that after this, is a really great example of just, like, how, like how sensitive people are to that now. Is that if people get even a hint of something that they would consider, like, woke, they totally
jump
lose their
off.
fucking
Yeah,
minds.
they just jump out. Yeah, he's not wrong. They just jump out. It's a fact. They just jump out. As soon as they see anything that might have an inkling of wokeness or anything like that, they jump out. And you can't really blame them for that, because they seen it's not even being anti-woke, right? It's not that. It's pattern recognition at that point. It's literally pattern recognition. It's like, okay, so let's say, for instance, there's a movie, the latest Blade movie, right? And the latest Blade movie looks promising in the trailer, right? And you're like, okay, I like what I'm seeing here. But based on what I've known, based on said company, based on said experiences of movies that are trying to promise me something, and then when said promise was supposed to be delivered, I got a bait and switch. A lot like what happened with He-Man, a lot like what happened with what was another movie I can think of? Fuck. I'm literally having a brain fart. Oh my god. It's like
Always watching YouTube official asks, there is a Blade movie coming out?
Yeah, there was a Blade movie coming out with Muhammad Ali, I think that's his name was. Not with Wesley Snipes, even though we saw Wesley Snipes in the Deadpool movie as a cameo. But he's much older now, so he's not going to be doing all that shit. They need someone much younger, a little more faster, stronger, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. So I think Wesley Snipes is in his 60s, I think, if I remember right. If I'm right, I could be wrong. I know he's past 50. I know that for a fact, but I think he's in his 60s. And in the Blade movie, we got, I know that who was it? It was I think it was either Endymion or it was uh 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 John De La Rose, or whatever the case may be. Or I think it was even Nerdrotic, where
Always watching YouTube official said true. I was hoping with Wesley Snipes, but like you said, everyone gets old.
yeah, I feel bad. I want him, like, don't get me wrong, bro. I'm a big Wesley Snipes fan for him being Blade. It blew my mind seeing him in the Deadpool movie. I was just so happy to see him, um, just doing his thing. But you can obviously see he's not the same as he used to be back in the early the late 90s, early 2000s. He's not that fast. You can tell. Is that Sanic? Yeah, it's Sanic. Um, it's Sanic. Um, it's it's more like, to me, like when you watch him, he's like, okay, he's moving more slowly. You can tell even by the choreograph, by their fighting. They made him take moves that are very conservative, so he doesn't like hurt himself or something. You can just kind of tell by watching. It's not his fault. He's old, so it's not like that's a bad thing per se. But
Always watching YouTube official said I loved his character in the
Expendables, yes, that's probably like the last time he was like able to do like much of anything. Um, yeah, they got all the A-list, B-list actors from the 80s and 90s, and I think even the early 2000s, and even mid 2000s all together. That was crazy. I thought that was pretty cool back in the day. But yeah, so like they had a movie that had a script and everything, and Mahershala Ali said he was not going to do it because of the script. He didn't want to be sidelined as Blade. He was going to play as Blade. I don't know if he still is, but he said he ain't doing it till they change the script, because the script was literally a bait and switch where it's about Blade, but it's supposed to be about Blade, but the movie's really about his daughter and how she's going to be the new Blade and not him, pretty much. So like, and you don't get to see Blade till like, I think an hour into the movie actually becomes a thing. Like like literally, like it's a bait and switch type thing. So a lot of gamers and people who are moviegoers have seen this enough to know, and casuals are now open and understanding what's happening now. They can't get away with this shit because now a bunch of casuals, like normal people, are seeing more of a difference, like why X, Y, and Z is doing X, Y, and Z. Like the moms, the dads, the soccer moms, the work dads, the uncles, the aunts.
YouTube official said, "Oh man, that sounds like the
Morbius movie." Yeah. So like it's like that. So it's literally they're going to replace Blade with his daughter, and then he becomes the new Blade. Pretty much what they. Oh, it was or Madam Web, or what was it? It was Indiana Jones. There we go. They was trying to do that bullshit where they was trying to replace Indiana Jones with, or like they was trying to do it Skywalker and stuff. Skywalker with Star Wars and stuff. So like, you know, a bunch of bait and switch nonsense where they bait you with a character that you know you like, something you recognize, and then as soon as you go see movie theater, it's some bullshit that they're trying to convince you with this brand new character who's supposed to be the new main protagonist, not the protagonist that you enjoyed as a kid or you know as a kid, or a case may be. That BS. They can't do that no more. And that's where most of these movies are either being scrapped or they have to be signed out because they already had contracts in the works already. So they have to put out these movies even though they may be contained as woke, but they have to get rid of them because they can't just cancel them because they have money tied up with them and contracts and all that stuff.
Official said yes, Indiana Jones with Shia LaBeouf. I may have spelled it wrong.
Yeah. No. Not with Shia no, the latest one. Not the Shia LaBeouf one. Not the one with Shia LaBeouf. That one was actually tolerable. It was not bad. It was just insane. And I think a lot of people didn't like it at the far end. I know they was trying to pull off that whole like Shia LaBeouf was going to be the new Indiana Jones, and I don't think a lot of people was too against the idea because I think they did like Shia before he went crazy. But at the time, because he was writing on that whole Transformers wave at the time, because he was like a household name at the time when Transformers was still like going and stuff. But yeah. They do that way too much, and now they can't do it no more because, as you can see, Disney and all these other companies are kind of like pivoting away from that, and they can't just get away with it. They're either gonna make a new character, or they have to stay put what people recognize and know, and that's where that comes in. So yeah.
To the point that when outlets like PC Gamer might actually produce thoughtful content that raises valid
Any hint of woke
points,
stuff kills
no
your
one
game?
cares
Yeah.
anymore. They automatically face backlash from the internet due to the reputation they've built over time. The recent article on Path of Exile 2 was a prime example of this. Readers see the headline and they immediately assume it's a bad article. But this is a completely self-induced problem, and this is the consequences. The rise of independent creators and YouTubers shows us what gaming journalism could become. More personal, more honest, and more connected to the audience. These creators...
Well, it's also more direct, and it's a better medium, too. Like, you don't have a lot of people that are writing articles individually, either. You have mainly people that are creating YouTube videos because it's a better medium. Asmon, you're the PC gamer now? Well,
True, because he's not wrong, because a lot of people are fucking lazy and they don't want to read, and I get that. I'm lazy too. I'm just as fucking lazy. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm out here reading books. But like watching a video and hearing it is easier than just trying. Oh, you can use Audible, but I don't think a lot of people still use that yet. But as much as people try to pull it off, but unless you're doing podcasts, but I like listening to podcasts sometimes, depending on what the topic is, but it's a real I'm just looking for a podcast. If I run into something, I run something. If I don't, I don't. But yeah, it's kind of like that. He's not wrong. It's kind of
I mean, yeah, in a lot of ways I am. I think that's true. I didn't mention Gamergate, but I definitely should have. Yeah, I think that Gamergate was the point, like that, in my opinion, was the undeniable turning point where everything changed. Because before Gamergate, people were pretty much like, yeah, whatever, right? Like, you know, there's like some people that have political opinions about stuff, it's whatever. But like with Gamergate, it kind of drew a line in the sand between the people who were in the gaming and journalism industry and people who were in the gaming industry and the people who weren't, like the actual consumers. So like Gamergate was this thing where a lot of people, this is like 10 years ago, maybe like 11 years ago at this point, it was a long time ago. But basically what happened was that there were a lot of reports and people discussing how certain outlets were behaving in unethical ways. Like, for example, people would get review copies or they wouldn't get review copies.
Hey, Tafreeze, what's going on, bro?
Like, I think the best example is that somebody was in a relationship with like this girl and then provided coverage to one of this girl's games.
Tafreeze asks, are you drawing a Sonic
in the
character?
process of that, didn't disclose the fact that they were in a relationship with the person whose game they reviewed. And so
I'm just
there were
drawing
a lot
Sonic.
of instances like
it's an old piece that I didn't get around to. I was supposed to do it at the time when the Sonic movie was coming out, but I just got too busy with other things.
Where you had obvious kind of ethical violations that happened. And basically what happened is that people got really angry about it, and the entire like gaming industry tried to turn it into a, well, the reason why they're mad is because they hate women type thing. And I think that it worked for some people, but it didn't work for enough people. And what happened is that after that, if you look at the graph for like the way that these websites went, like after 2014, they went way, way down. Like that was the beginning of the end. And like now they've never been lower. Was the girl hot because it was justified? Well, it doesn't matter, right? That's not the point. And so that's really what was not the turning point. The industry's response to it was, respectfully. Well, that's actually a great point that you're making. Yeah, the turning point was not, no, really, really good point. It was not the fact that it happened. It was the fact that the journalists tried to pretend like it wasn't happening. And it was an insult. It was an insult to everybody's intelligence. Everybody was like, this is bullshit. We can all tell this is bullshit, right? And I think also that's when they directly started attacking gamers. That's whenever it really began, was 2014. And that's where I think the big transition happened. And that's when you started seeing a lot like more like identity politics in games, stuff like that. Because then they tried to overcorrect and like kind of punish in a way. Like, I don't really think that's what happened, but I think that's the way that a lot of people viewed it. Punish gamers for Gamergate. And I think that all that did was it just radicalized them more. Because at the end of the day, like, there's just way more people that play video games than people in games media. And they just got straight up overwhelmed. And for a long time, you were getting basically like this is what would happen, right? Is that pretty much every person in journalism had the exact same viewpoint, and I think this is still the case. And if one person like kind of went off the, they went off the, off the beaten path, they immediately were crucified. And you saw that recently. I forgot which game it was, but one, more mainstream journalist paid credibility to like a gamer complaint. And they had a bunch of other journalists that were getting mad at them because they were saying, oh no, we're not supposed to talk about that. We're not supposed to pretend that exists, right? Path of Exile. I don't remember whether it was PoE or not. I'm not sure. And so anyway, that's really, you want to see reservations so bad? Well, usually going off the reservation or going off the plantation. I think these are the two usual ones, but they're both.
And this is why I think independent outlets are more better than a whole company. Because you don't have to subscribe to the rhetoric. That's the thing. You don't have to worry about a network of people trying to like silence you. Everyone's on their own. There's no form of union. There's none of that. Everyone's on their own. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's better than them being one whole entity. Because then they all think the same. And if you don't think the same, you're the problem.
Kind of not very, like, it's kind of a weird way to say it, but yeah, anyway, the point is that I think this is what happened, and you have those journalists that are getting fixated on like trying to make sure that nobody talks about this. And you even see it now whenever you have articles written about like why a game didn't do well, and it's like they're ignoring the massive elephant in the room for why the game actually didn't do well, because they don't want to talk about it, because talking about it's like Voldemort, right? It's like talking about it makes it real. And I think that's really what happened. You see kind of what I'm saying? Politically correct, you're not following my policies? Yeah, that's basically what it was.
Giving a voice to the gamers, and they are filling a gap left by the big outlets that became more concerned with clicks than delivering real value. It's a new era, and if traditional outlets want to stay relevant, they'll need to adapt or risk
To
being
Freeze
left
asks, how
behind.
did you really
As
get
for
improved
gamers,
in your art?
we're starting to take control.
I practice. That's all I did. I watched YouTube videos and I practiced and I applied what I learned from them. So like if I just practice. A lot of people think there's some magic thing we're not telling you and we're trying to, what's the word, gatekeep from y'all. There's none. It's literally we sat down, and a lot of people don't want to do it and don't want to admit it, but it's like this. Say for instance you don't have a lot of time to like draw. Say you have work or something like that. Okay, if you have work, then the days that you have off should be the days you're drawing. And they'll come with this another excuse saying, but that's my day off though. Well, that's what sacrifice is.
Said for some reason, I started to draw with pen and saw my mistake since it was permanent.
Good. It's actually good that you draw in pen. I would recommend all my students to draw in pen. I always tell them that. Draw in pen. I don't draw with, I might do digital, but like when I'm doing traditional, I don't use a pencil. I don't use a mechanical pencil. I use a pen. Because a pen is more permanent. You can't just erase it away. I would always apply to my students, draw with a pen. Yes, you're going to make mistakes. Yes, you're going to probably fuck up. But then again, it's best because now you can't run away from the mistake. The mistake is always on you. So you will subconsciously, if you do it enough practice, you will subconsciously know what to do, even when improvising on if you messed up somewhere. Because now you have to work around, like, it's like what tattoo artists do. They have to like do a touch up or they have to fix someone else's tattoo because maybe say like a girlfriend isn't breaking up.
It was because of a video.
Because you gotta break up with your boyfriend or they're not together anymore or vice versa. So they'll act like the tattoo artist, can you fix my tattoo? Is there any way you can like work around my tattoo and then make it look different? You know what I'm saying? Compared to it being the same or me getting surgery or a case may be. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. I would always recommend to draw in a pen with a pen at all costs, no matter what. It just makes you a better artist because it'll make you think subconsciously not to just make stupid
Always
decisions.
watching YouTube official said draw the art in pencil, then after you get the art perfected then draw over the lines with a gel ink pen. I have done some cringe videos to show the technique.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can do that. Or you can put in a digital thing and do it digitally if you got the tablet.
Funding better, and most importantly, we're holding these companies accountable. Thank you everyone for watching, and a very special thank you to my Patreons. If you're keen to look into my Patreon, do check the link in the description below. I'm really enjoying building this community with all of you. Also, a very big thank you to Sennheiser for these headphones. This isn't a sponsorship, but a few weeks ago I reached out to them and asked them for a sponsor, but they sent them to me completely for free. Really, really like them. You can check a link in the description below for them. Like I said, it's not a sponsor.
I need new headphones.
But I do want to support them because they've supported me. If you would like to join me live, I am on Twitch almost weekly now, so feel free
To Freeze said I really like to use the multicolored pen.
Thanks, guys.
Most multicolor.
That in 2024, the best way to make money.
Let's see what's else there. End stage Lucasfilm 4 days ago.
Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's 2025 and we're still talking about Lucasfilm. Like they're still relevant.
But not in a good way.
Not in a good way. Yeah, look, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't think either one of us are mad about Lucasfilm anymore. I just don't think we care.
Always watching YouTube official said
Well,
I am
they
so
still think
freaking
it's
jealous
stupid
of
they're
the
spending
artists
as much
that
as
can
they
pick
are
up
on
a
this
pen
stuff
and
that's
literally just
not
draw
bringing
such
them a
beautiful
return on
characters
investment
without
that they
even
keep.
breaking a sweat.
They did that because they practiced. Exactly what I told you was literally the key. They just practiced with the pen and it made them think subconsciously to do better. They don't even think. Like after a while, it's like, you know, when you like ride a bike, if you ever rode a bike, many times you kept falling and falling and falling and falling and falling to the point that it just became so much easier to the point you're not even thinking about it, because when you just ride on a bike, you just jump on that thing. You don't ever think of falling. The only time you think of falling off a bike is when you're something directly hits your wheel or something like is in the way and you're just trying to get out of the way, like a person or an animal or some shit. But other than that, like it was just like a clear road and you're just riding. You're not thinking of falling because you did it so many times that you subconsciously know what to do. Your body knows what to do, how to react. You know, it is what it is. That's just how it is. Muscle memory, all that stuff. That's literally what's great about the human consciousness. It tends to adapt to whatever the hell. So
Flushing money down the toilet.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about this. This is Caroline Reed, who's been kind of following the financials of Disney and Lucasfilm over on Forbes. And Willow was more than they thought. They thought it was $150 million. It's actually $172 million for a show that nobody watched. It was so
wow, that's a lot of money lost.
Wise, I didn't
God
actually
damn.
You watched it. You said it
I watched the first couple episodes and I was like, man, I'm out.
Yeah, I had no interest in watching it. I saw the trailer. I'm like, no, I'm good. Anyway, it was so poorly received and was not watched, so they pulled it off the platform completely to take the write-off.
Within a couple months or a month.
It was quick.
Yeah, it was fast.
And I think they were just trying to claw back some of this money. $172 million.
Now, to be fair, some of that stuff they got money back from it, so it's going to end up being less than that in total. But if you want to argue it, they did spend that much up front. It ended up being less than that when they got the refunds back. I want to make sure I preface that.
Yeah. So, but it's insane how much they were spending on streaming, and then we're going to talk about we'll talk about Skeleton Crew and how it is also not doing very well.
I watched the first 2 episodes of, and I didn't get to watch anymore.
I actually had some hope for this. Now, some people watched it and they said it actually was pretty good, but
I was going to finish this one. I just haven't had time to.
Because this is something, and I've said the whole time, I mean, for all the people that are like, you're just a bunch of haters. I said the whole time I saw the trailer for this, I'm like, this is something that George Lucas himself would sign off on, because he was all about, kids and adventure and all that kind of stuff. And, every time he was given a chance when he didn't have the studio getting involved, let's put kids in it. It was like the Ewok Adventure, and then the Phantom Menace had to have kids in it, and then by the time he got to Revenge of the Sith, he's like, yeah, screw kids, we'll just kill
Part of me feels like if Lucasfilms was run by George Lucas, not George Lucas, what's his name? He just said his name. Fuck. The one that made E.T. I wonder if he would have did a better job with Star Wars. Maybe, maybe not. Spielberg. There we go. Steven Spielberg. I wonder if he would have did a better job with Star Wars or not.
Kill them all.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, so let's talk about this. I think this is end stage Lucasfilm, at least Lucasfilm as we know it. I don't know where they go from here. They've got the Mandalorian movie coming out, which I don't have a lot of hope for. I think there's so little interest in anything Lucasfilm is doing at this point, Indiana Jones or Star Wars or Willow, that, like, again, I think you would have been better off just keeping the integrity of the original Star Wars trilogy intact and making merch off of that. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You will get a woohoo if you do. Go out to clownfishminus.com. Help support the reef. Thank you very much for that. So I had to go out to actually ask Grok how to break this down. This is a very, very lengthy, in-depth article talking about
Grok?
How much money Willow actually costs.
Is that the AI thing?
And Caroline Reed said it was a staggering $172.3 million.
Always watching YouTube official said, I mean, the old Star Wars had some small plot holes that could easily be looked over at times, and I mean they were small compared to what Disney has done.
Yeah. And look, listen, I'm not even a Star Wars fan. I don't care for Star Wars, never did, never was into it. Just to piss off some of my friends who was in Star Wars, I even said I call it Space Samurais. That's pretty much what Star Wars is, if you, in a nutshell. If you really stop and think of it, it's Space Samurais. It's samurais in space. That's really what Star Wars truly is about. It's like you're being a space samurai, right? So it is what it is. I was not a big Star Wars fan. I think the only thing close to what I ever watched or got excited when it came to Star Wars was like it was Star Wars, the Clone Wars animated series back in the early 2000s. It was like 2006, 2005.
Official said, "Wahaha, Space Samurais, it is."
Yeah, that's how I look at it. It's Space Samurais. Like let's be honest. If you take away, and let's be honest with ourselves, if you take away the lightsaber, it is fucking Star Trek. Take away the lightsaber. That's literally what it is. The only way that most people distinguish Star Wars from Star Trek is that, well, probably the outfits, and then that's it. It's not even weapons.
Always watching YouTube official said Star Wars the Clone Wars animated series was fun.
It was so fun because it was directed and made by the people who made Samurai Jack. I forgot his name, Denadatoski. I think I'm saying his name wrong. Tanakoski. He made the that one anime with the caveman. I forgot. He made Samurai Jack. I think he helped even make I think he made the Powerpuff Girls. He knew how action worked, and what I loved about that show the most.
Mono said, "Good afternoon, everyone."
Hey Mono. What I loved about that show the most is that it was a lot like Samurai Jack in the sense of it was focused on story, and that's it. It was focused on telling a story without saying little to no dialogue. It was all about being stoic. Like, majority of all the characters were stoic. It didn't matter if it was a female, a male, a monster. Everyone was stoic. Everyone was serious. Everyone knew their role. Everyone knew what to do. Everyone, like, they knew, like, even the villains were stoic and badass. There was that one lady with the bald head. I forgot her name. She was a Sith. And she was just killing it. She was like giving it.
Just woke up. It's 3 a.m.
And then I think the craziest one, I think one of the most, I want to say the word scary, but the one that gave you like a literal like made your heart run was, how are you? I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. The one that gave you the most like made my heart run when he was on screen was General Grievous.
Always watching YouTube official said Ventress.
Ventress, that was her name. Oh, I never knew her name actually. I never bothered to know her name till you mentioned that. I never bothered to know her name. I just know her as like bald woman who's a Sith, like Sith bald woman. That's all I remember her as. But her design was so cool because I thought she was like so badass. And then General Grievous, when he was taking out the Jedi, what he was, I was like, fuck, bro, who's gonna defeat this dude? Like, the way he fights and shit was mad crazy.
I used to love Sonic and I still love it.
Yeah, Sonic goes hard. And then what made the show even more fun was like, when I think what made his character even more villainous is when he killed the Jedi, he keeps their swords as like trophies and use them. That was crazy. That was crazy. He had like 5 of them, 6 of them, and he can use them all. And he fought. Yo, it was so crazy watching that. I will watch that again. I will watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars over any of the movies. Well, maybe not the over the old trilogy, but like definitely the new ones. I will watch that over most of the movies that come out today and the shows that comes out today. That still fucking goes hard to this day. Fire, bro. Fire.
That's like 21.5 million per each episode.
$20 million, 21.5.
And remember, this is coming from the mouth of a non-Star Wars fan. If I'm excited to see that, and I have fond memories watching that, I can just imagine the actual diehard Star Wars fan. That must have been like a climax for majority of people who watched that. That was crazy.
$dollars on each of the episodes.
And then I don't think they even had 500,000 views in the first like 5 days.
No, it was very poorly received. It wasn't watched. Again, Willow, it was kind of weird because part of me was like, I was secretly hoping this would wind up being like Cobra Kai or Dark Crystal, where the show was not just a great follow-up to a movie, a cult classic movie, but also in some ways was better than and expanded the world. And I was thinking like, yeah, there's so much you can do with Willow. Now, when it was announced, I think it was before all the nonsense, Lucasfilm. So I was like, maybe it's actually going to be pretty good. And then it came out. I was like, yeah, I just don't.
No, the nonsense was going on. It just wasn't,
to the extent.
Yeah, it was already like in the middle of nonsense.
I got a sketchbook from Five Below.
So, yeah, you have it broken down if you go over to the other thing.
Oh, sketchbook from Five Below, huh?
So this is how Grok breaks it down. So, according to Caroline Reed's article, and this may or may not be accurate, but usually when it comes to numbers, Grok is usually accurate. Disney spent $172.3 million on producing the Willow series with an average cost of
dollar store paper always feels kind of weird. It feels not even like paper. It feels like a weird rubber thing. Like it feels weird. Sometimes if you scratch your nails on it, makes you feel funny. So yeah,
$1 million per episode.
It really depends.
Okay. Financial structure. This is where it gets confusing because she really goes into detail as to how she got these numbers. The production benefited from the UK's audio-visual expenditure credit.
They all do because that's why I keep doing them over there.
Right, which reimbursed the production company Barking Lion Productions with up to 25% of its costs.
Therapy has always been such a scary idea to me because I simply did not know where to get started. I didn't know how to find my person. I did not know where to go until BetterHelp came in and helped me solve a lot of those problems.
I don't care, lady.
This reduced Disney's net expenditure to $132 million. Additional grants from filming in Wales further decreased costs. Reimbursement details: $34.4 million from AVEC, $5.4 million from Wales, and $345,000 from miscellaneous income.
Okay.
Cost components: staff costs were significant with $13.6 million spent on salaries. And they talk about the cancellation, Warwick Davis's reaction, and here we break it down even more. And yeah, so basically, they're talking about the viewership being low. They said that, according to Samba TV, is 481,000 households watched it in the first 5 days, which is not enough to justify the cost.
Yeah, so by the time they got the reimbursements, they were saying about 132.2 million.
Yeah, which is before they were like, oh, it was 125, then went to 150. Now they're saying no, it was actually 172, but they got the money back. Regardless, for 8 episodes of a show based on a movie that really wasn't that big of a hit when it came out. I mean, I remember I went to a theater to go see Willow with my friend Craig, because we were just getting into Dungeons and Dragons back then.
Hey, Craig, if you're watching.
Hey, Craig. We were just getting into Dungeons and Dragons back then, and we went to go see Willow. We thought it was pretty awesome.
I liked Willow.
But we were also kids, too, right?
And but I think it was 4 kids. I liked Willow, and I liked it. I watched I think it was on the Disney Channel. But, yeah, it was 4 kids.
But you gotta remember, what's in the 80s, what was for kids, is considered problematic for kids into 2024. So, like, there's kids right now getting hold of early 2000 movies and saying they're problematic. I think there was one article when they said the American Pie movie is such a problematic movie for kids who are discovering it now. I'm like, bro, no, it's not. If anything, it's it's now considered one of the most base movies you can fucking watch. Like, you cannot tell me that movie's not based and not funny still. Like, I was watching an old Paul Rudd movie. I forgot what it was called, and it was like, if you watch the movie, it literally, you can see,
Ryuga Samurai said lol.
like, if you watch the Paul Rudd movie I'm mentioning, everything that we consider is now need to be protected because of sensitivities is in that movie, and you will laugh your ass off. And you're gonna look at everything that is woke is in that movie that is super funny.
Watching YouTube official said Sonic X will live on forever in my mind.
Sonic X. And then, like, what's funny is, like, what's funny, they didn't present themselves as, like, you know, LGBT or anything. It was like hippies, like progressive, not even actives, like progressive hippies in the movie. It was super funny, and it was so base because it was like everything that you consider is considered problematic or anything that is considered woke is in this movie, and it was super funny because it was in 2012. I think in 2012, the fucking movie is still funny to this day. I forgot what movie it was. I'll recommend it next time if I remember right. But Jesus Christ, it was so funny. And it was so funny because, like, everything about it was everything that is considered just, like, is lame. Like, everything is lame. Like, everything that is, like, was normal is now base. Base back in, like, the early 2000s, 2010s and stuff is so, like, normal. It's considered problematic. Everything. I was like, bro, this movie could not be made today. It's too funny. It's too damn funny. I missed the early 2000s. It was one of the most base shit you could ever watch because everyone was, like, genuinely being an asshole, and it felt real. It felt funny. Now you can't watch anything because it's sensitivity readers and all this shit.
Kids, and that's the difference. Like, we have a lot of shows that were for kids they're trying to make for adults, which is cool because, I mean, the audience.
Shit, you can't even watch Boondocks. Like, if you watch Boondocks, oh my god, dude. You can't watch Boondocks because it's problematic. People now consider Boondocks problematic. You can't watch it. You can't make something like Boondocks. Jesus Christ.
Rough. But they're losing the elements of it that were for kids, which is why people wanted to see it. We see this across the board.
Shipping.
Right, and their insertion of other things. And we've seen this across the board with franchises.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. Like, God, the shipper culture. Yeah, the whole movie, like, this whole show, all the conversation around this show was shippy, shippy representation. And
here she breaks it down this graph a little better too. Like revenue from the studio, miscellaneous income, wages and salaries, production, etc., etc. It ends up being that they got a net profit of $64,000.
$64,000 profit. Yeah. Now, here's the thing, too, that she mentions in the article, and we've talked about this before, too, is that Disney, how they offset these costs for these shows that cost way too damn much money, is they will spread it out across, like, multiple shows, or they'll be like, like they did with Ms. Marvel, like, oh, we're going to show it on Freeform and ABC, too, so we can say it was a show for Freeform and ABC. But in this case,
they pulled it down before it even had chance to really, I mean, it wasn't, they got through the episodes, and then after that, it was like a month or so, and then it was gone. And, you know, you have to remember, too, the net profit, they're like, well, what's this other studio? They make up fake, like, studios. They give them, they're studios, but they give them, like, code names.
Blue Harvest.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then they do them as each their own thing, even though they are part of the larger Lucasfilm. But they end up making 60. I'm surprised they made any, but the net profit was 64,000.
Ain't that illegal? That sounds illegal as hell. I feel like that's illegal. That sounds illegal.
Yeah, it's
sound like shell companies.
Kind of weird how the Hollywood accounting, you hear about Hollywood accounting. I'm kind of like, does the IRS, like the IRS goes after mom and pop businesses hard. They go after individuals hard. They go after these big studios because they're doing all kinds of stuff trying to move the money around so they don't get pinched for it. I'm like, do you pay attention, or are you just like, oh, they're paying millions of dollars in taxes every year? We don't really give a shit.
We don't know how much they got, how much they get for the write down.
You're never gonna know.
Yeah. So I'm just like, they probably got more money they probably made more money in the end when they took the write down.
That's probably what they looked at. They're probably like, well, if we take the write down, we can write off, like, I don't know what it is, like half of that or whatever. And that's what, HBO did too. They had a lot of cartoon shows, kind of the same situation where they just pulled them off the platform completely and said, yeah, this is a bust. Batgirl, yeah, it's a bust. We're actually going to be ahead. Like, we're not going to throw good money after bad. We're not going to put this thing out there and have to eat the cost and it's almost like reminds me of getting like a 30-day trial of something and then having a money back guarantee on it. Like if you don't like it after 30 days, you send it back and they give you your money back. It's like that. We spent $150 million, $175 million. Oh, it's not going to make us any money and we're going to have to pay taxes on it. No, we just send it back. We're going to pull it down.
We get our money back. Yeah.
We want our money back.
So they got a write down. They probably profited more.
They probably did. I think in some ways it's actually more profitable for them to just take the write down. And this one, I got to wonder, is this going to be, I mean, they haven't done it with Star Wars yet, but like this isn't going very well. I was not paying attention to Skeleton Crew that much, other than people said it's okay. It's not great.
I saw the first 2 episodes and that's it. I was going to watch the rest of it, but it would depend how like the next a couple episodes went, if I would stick it out or not.
So yeah, she dropped this last night, I think. How the Acolyte beat Skeleton Crew. So the Acolyte did better than Skeleton Crew. Guys, that's not good.
That's not good. That's not good. The Acolyte doing better than the Skeleton Crew is not good. That's not a good sign. That is not a good sign.
I don't agree with that.
That is a terrible thing to hear. That is nothing to champion.
Was last year's The Acolyte, the worst reviewed Star Wars show in history. Then came Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, I think Skeleton Crew is like Andor, where people say it's pretty good, but you don't have a large audience. Yeah,
I mean that's the thing that's the thing people don't understand. Like when we talk about the numbers and stuff, we talk about the numbers of the shows, whatever. And what they don't understand is like it can be good. But 2 things can be true at once. The show can be good, and it can also be a financial failure. Right? I mean, some of my favorite movies of all time were huge financial failures. Transformers the movie was a huge financial failure, and it's one of my favorite movies.
Well, you're not a real fan, that's why. But you know,
not a real fan. Probably
it's a whole other story.
I think I've seen that movie more than any other movie ever. Yeah, it didn't make a mark. They said it's not doing very well. This has a 91% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and audiences gave it an 80%. But it didn't even make it into Nielsen's top 10 original streaming charts in the first 2 weeks. And if it doesn't make it in the first 2 weeks, it's not going to make it in because that means people didn't buy into the first couple episodes.
I think it did eventually, but it just didn't. I mean, it did not for the beginning. And I don't know. I don't think Acolyte won in any regard, personally, but that's just me.
Yeah. But basically what this is showing me is their show after show, even if the shows are better in quality, that people are checked out. Like anything Lucasfilm at this point. I'm going to be honest. I think the entire Lucasfilm studio is radioactive. I think it's between all the dumbass decisions with Star Wars and their people going out there and attacking YouTubers and, you know, critics and just doubling down on the nonsense and being antagonistic. I think it's a radioactive brand.
Well, here's what they're bringing up, and this is what we've mentioned too. They said that because they kept doing this stuff, like with the episodes, diversity and inclusion and all that crap, it basically kept people talking about it. And if you hate watched it, downvoted or whatever, it gave it legs because people kept talking about it, and they kept giving it engagement. And that's what we've mentioned several times too. And because of the engagement, it would be top of mind for people. It might still suck and all the engagement is negative, but they're just going to see that as engagement.
Yeah. So many talking points. Yeah, the Acolyte was rarely out of the media during its run.
Because the media was so busy white knighting for it too.
So because you didn't see this with Andor, right? You didn't see this with Andor, and Andor, people didn't really watch it. A lot of people forgot it existed, but most people
people forgot the Skeleton Crew existed for the same reason. You're not hearing about it.
Most people whose opinions I trusted, Andor and Skeleton Crew, were both good. That they were both good, and if they came out instead of, Boba Fett and Obi-Wan and stuff like that, Star Wars might actually be in a slightly different place.
The media isn't giving
slightly.
They'll in retrospect say they're good, but they weren't giving it all the attention because one, it wasn't clicks.
Hey Art, what's going?
Two,
Hey
Ryan,
what's going on?
Personally wanting the Acolyte to succeed because they thought it was their representation. I hit the mic, sorry. Their representation. So they kept pushing and pushing and pushing and calling her by names because it mattered to them. So they aren't doing it with this one so much because it's not the diversity inclusion button isn't there, even though it's very diverse.
This is interesting though. She's saying Star Wars maybe past its prime.
It's been.
I think it's been. I think we talked about this in another video, and we were talking about how at least I think there are some franchises that they were product of their time.
I'm very proud of you.
Art with Ryan said I just got here after drawing Thanos from Squid Games.
Oh, Thanos? Okay, gotcha. I'm very proud of you, Bean. You bring nothing but joy.
time, and we have great memories of them. And those movies, like the original
Beanbag
Star
said
Wars
you
trilogy,
pee.
will be timeless. It will be like or would have been like the Wizard
Jeffrey
of
said
Oz.
I'm
That,
back.
80 years from now, people are still going to be watching it. But I don't know if
Ryu
that's the
the
case now.
Samurai
I think
said
there's
hi,
been so
Bean
much
and
damage
Ryan.
done to it under the mismanagement of Disney that Star Wars is pretty much dead.
Beanbag said hi, Brian.
To generations.
Art
Because the
with
people that
Ryan
would have
said
kept
hi,
it
Brian.
alive and showed it to their kids, and then their kids would, they don't care anymore. Like, you alienated that audience. You alienated the parents and the grandparents, and they're not going to pass Star Wars down
to them
generation to generation. Doesn't mean anything to kids today.
Beanbag
And
said
it's
me
sad
being
because
joy, I
even
bring chaos to
when
your
our
stream
kids were
LMFAU.
young,
yes, I know.
younger.
Unfortunately, yes, I know.
They still liked Star Wars, but they knew Star Wars from other
Ryuga
media. They knew it
Samurai
from
said,
Clone
"No,
Wars,
we're
they knew
proud
from
of you."
Lego Star Wars games.
I was saying Lego Star Wars games. Our son just loved those so much.
But it was still relevant, and it's
Free
just
said,
not
"I need
relevant
help."
now. Nobody cares about. I mean, they go to the theme park because
I
it's
need
a ride
help.
and it's there.
Or-
But like, I don't think anybody's making a trip to Disney World just to go to Galaxy's Edge. Very few people are. And they totally mismanage it. I think
Free
we're
said
looking
Tiger or
between
Lion,
this
I'm
and
trying
Indiana
to draw
Jones
these things.
and
I'm bad at drawing.
the games falling off.
Beanbag
And
said,
I think
unfortunately.
it's like end
Face
stage
holding
Lucasfilm.
back tears
I think they're
emoji
going to have to
LMFAU.
rest things or get some new leadership in there, or just be like, you know what, we're not making new stuff. We're just going to sell merch for the old stuff.
I think
and-
yes to all the above.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love how they add this thing about, it's only gotten 59% of the coverage of the Acolyte got. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. It's because it's not they didn't have the buzzwords, even though there is diversity and stuff. It wasn't to the extent that you're going to call everybody bigot. You didn't have
Always
the lead
watching
kids out there
YouTube
shaking
official
their
said
ass
I
and
need to
making
get
songs
better
about
at
how everybody's
freaking digital
racist.
art so I can
Well,
make a PFP I am proud of.
Even people were like, okay, Skeleton
Beanbag
Crew,
said, I'm sorry, if you
Diversity
want to
Crew,
ask
am
for
I
help,
right?
you have
Burger
to
King
subscribe to
Kids
his
Club,
coffee.
am I right? Even people were going to
Yes, you have to subscribe to the coffee.
kids, right? And I just think it's just.
Well, according to Lucasfilm, that you come after
Beanbag
kids
said,
if you know,
"Thank
like
you,
little
Brian, I
Leia, even though it
appreciate
was
you,
just because
hon."
everybody's like, why the hell is Leia in the Obi-Wan show?
It made no
Holy
sense.
shit, people are still playing content warning? Holy shit, people are still playing that? I didn't know people were still playing that. I thought that died. Then I don't hear anything about content warning. The fuck?
Always watching YouTube official said, what coffee you sound like my bro.
It's in the link in the bio. It's becoming what do you call it? Buy me a coffee. It's like Patreon but way better. I'm so surprised that a lot of YouTubers don't use it.
Obi-Wan to have a whole adventure with Princess Leia, and then she doesn't even know who the hell he is.
No, she was pretending.
She was bullshit.
Art with Ryan said, I'm not that good at realism.
Yeah, so
I'm
I just
better
think
at
it's
anime
over. I think
style.
we're done.
So
I
I
think
would
this
say
is
my
the
Thanos
Ewok
picture is
adventure.
mid.
I'm not good at realism. I'm better at anime style, so I would say my Thanos switch is mid. Oh well. A lot of people don't realize it's not even just realism, it's just like it's more of like if you're using colors, are you drawing or are you painting it?
Stage of Disney
Free said Tiger
Lucasfilm.
or Lion.
And I mean, all these fantasies though, these people are like, oh, the Saudis are going to come in and buy Star Wars and blah. It's like, no, I don't believe that, but I think they definitely
I'll go
have
Tiger.
got to get rid of the leadership at Lucasfilm and really go stand the course, think about what they've
Art with
done,
Ryan said,
and be like,
sketching.
you know what, maybe we'll give it another try in like 10 years.
But they've been needing to do that for years and they haven't done it yet.
No.
So I don't think they're going to do it anytime soon.
No. So we're
going
going
to
to
wrap this up? Yeah.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Free said Tiger it is.
Tiger.
I feel like fast food is crazy.
Art with Ryan
crazy,
said, you
crazy
still play
expensive
Marvel
now.
Rivals
Why they're
Teach.
panicking
Yes.
over higher prices? They should be.
I do.
It-
I usually I would have played today, but I was like, no, not today.
It's been a while. They need to be panicking. They better be fucking panicking. It's so expensive now. I don't even want to go anymore.
There's been a lot of talk online and in the news about how much fast food prices have gone up over the recent years.
Ridiculous.
Once home to the dollar menu, prices at the Golden Arch.
Fuck fast food restaurants. What about actual groceries? Like groceries at the fucking, I don't know, grocery store? You don't need to eat fast food. That shit ain't good for you anyway. Go get
Art
some
with Ryan
fucking
said, "I heard a
groceries."
theory."
The hell? I heard a theory.
To Freeze asks, how do you watch Naruto?
Yeah, how do you watch Naruto?
Which is leaving a bad taste in the mouth of consumers
Look
who
at that,
just want value.
Some restaurants are continuing with price hikes, while others are getting desperate with attempts to offer more deals in hopes of increasing traffic.
Restaurants don't cut prices for fun. Did consumers essentially force your hand by being fed up?
Customers are telling us that they're really stretched.
Now, we all know inflation has been rampant since the beginning of 2020 when the pandemic happened.
This is nuts.
Grocery prices, in some cases, are falling. Fast food prices are rising, and these CEOs, they know it. They're hearing these complaints.
But what's really going on here? I mean, are fast food companies trying to pull a fast one on us, price gouging under
To
the
Freeze
cover
asks,
of
have you watched
inflation?
Naruto?
Fast food places
Yes,
in
I have.
general, y'all better watch.
Art with Ryan
your
said, you know
goddamn
the
ass.
Is this
Elastic
just
Man.
plain old corporate greed like
To Freeze said, typed it wrong.
Yeah, the Elastic Man from DC.
many have claimed?
He's right.
Who told y'all was that good to be charging that much for y'all food?
To Freeze said, no.
It's not that good.
More to this story.
Fast food used to mean inexpensive. Going viral,
Don't waste
the Big
your
Mac
money.
meal
To
priced
Freeze
at
said, sorry.
$18 at a Connecticut rest stop.
Well, in this video, I'm going to try to get to the bottom of it.
Oh my
Wikipedia
god.
defines price gouging as a pejorative term
Fast
used
food
to refer
blows?
to the
Yeah.
practice of increasing the prices
Seems
of
that
goods,
way.
services, or commodities to a level.
I came to realize you can tell the type of Sonic I'm drawing based on the eye color. I think, if I remember right. I think that's how most people... Either two things you can figure out which Sonic I'm drawing is based on eye color, or like height, eye color, and items. And sometimes the model of shoes he's wearing, I think.
Much higher than is considered
Why does the eyes
reasonable
look like
or
that?
fair
Yeah.
by some. This commonly applies to the price increases of basic necessities after natural disasters. Usually this event occurs after a demand or supply shock, like, say, a global
COVID.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Harvard Business School says there's no rule for what qualifies as price gouging, but it's not an uncommon occurrence. For example, EpiPen costs and Uber price surges are both examples of price increases that have been considered unfair. But what's the difference
I think this is completely a total, like, you cannot compare using a Uber app to insulin or like medical supplies. These are two totally different things.
between price gouging and inflation? While price gouging is often the result of a business
Life-saving
decision,
device, yeah.
inflation is a general increase in the prices of goods and services over time and is directly impacted by the market. And while 40 states across the country have laws in place to ban price gouging,
See, they need to make a law that says that McDonald's can't charge more than $3 for a hamburger. That's the problem. Like, it's ridiculous. And if you buy, like...
Art
if
with
you
Ryan
buy
said,
a
I heard that
fast
has
food
really
meal,
similar
it
to
can't
normal
be more
Luffy
than,
and
like,
Dear Fourth Luffy. If someone moded Marvel Rivals, they could make the Elastic Man look like Luffy.
Elastic Man? Are you talking about Wait, hold up. Elastic Man? Are you talking about Mr. Fantastic?
$15.
There's
Zach, come on, no,
currently no federal
really?
price gouging.
Elastic Man is that anti-hero / anti-villain character from DC. He was in The Brave and the Bold with Batman. He's the one that wears red and I think Speedos. I think he wears like a red top and a Speedo, and he wears glasses. And I think he's been to jail a few times. I don't even think he's even considered a hero. He's just kind of like a
Art with
a
Ryan
gag
said,
individual. Yeah. More of a gag individual, if anything. But he has done some horrific shit. I think there was one particular one where he had to...
Art with Ryan said, forgot his name.
I forgot, I think there was one particular character, it was one instance where I think Elastic Man had to eat a woman. Not eat a woman, but like, was it a woman?
Art with Ryan said, Hess being added to Rivals.
He's being added to Rivals? Wait, who's being added to Rivals? Because I'm not sure what you're referring to. Like, I think there was one where he had to like put a woman in his mouth. Like he ate a whole woman, not ate her, but he had to keep her in his mouth, her whole body in her mouth, just to keep her safe under some type of weird circumstance. I forgot what was the circumstance. It was some insane reason, and it was pretty disgusting. I'm not even gonna lie. It was just fucking crazy. It was beyond anything.
Prohibition.
Come on.
And this makes it a difficult thing to enforce
Art with
because
Ryan
so
said
many
Mr.
supply chains
Fantastic.
are nationwide.
He's already added. He's already added. Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, is already added. I think they're gonna be adding Johnny Storm soon and the Thing.
Wide. And as a result, states face heightened challenges when trying to protect consumers from price gouging. So in my opinion, price gouging is a rather nebulous concept. It often lacks clear-cut depictions, and it's not only a practical question, but also a moral
Art with
one.
Ryan said
However, with this fast food
Listen,
dilemma...
it's not immoral for McDonald's to charge a lot of money for a McDouble. It's just annoying.
He's not wrong.
And it makes me mad.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
That's all.
It's not just about high prices here. It's also about prices that seem disconnected from costs.
Art with
and
Ryan
the
said
actual
that's why I
products
bring up the Luffy
themselves.
theory.
So whether specific fast food companies have engaged in price gouging
I thought you already modded him being like Luffy already.
is up for debate. What certainly is how much prices have increased over the years.
Yeah.
And the real question then becomes, is it justified?
No.
Finance Buzz released a staggering report on fast food prices over the last decade, and it showed some very interesting stats, claiming McDonald's is king when it comes to price hikes
fucking ridiculous
over the years, citing a 100%
Lonsdale
increase
I'd
to
said
their
on
prices
Strem.
from 2014.
I went to Popeyes the other day, and it was $21 for me. I got a 4-piece tenders meal, a large drink with large mashed potatoes and gravy and Cajun fries. $21.
2024. Now, to understand how we got here, let's just rewind for a second. Fast food in its early days was built on two core promises: speed and affordability. Now, with its initial success, it really started to become a symbol of American culture.
Yeah, of course.
What the food may have lacked in quality, it ultimately made up with cheaper prices
look.
and the convenience of getting it
No,
quick.
the 6-piece. This is this year. This video
Art
is
with
probably
Ryan
taken
asks
in
at
like
Lonsdale I'd what's a
2017.
Strem?
What's his Strem?
I'm joking,
What is
but,
Strem?
like, this is probably taken
Lonsdale
realistically
I'd said stream.
What's it? Who?
2005. Like I
Art
feel like
with
this is
Ryan
about
said,
2005 prices, maybe 2000. Like yeah, it's somewhere around there. 90s? Nah, bro. Nah.
However, today,
No.
the same can't be said. It's not breaking news, but fast food is rarely fast anymore.
It's
and
not,
it's becoming pretty expensive for what the quality is. Over the last 2 decades, rising costs have hit the industry hard.
You know what's gonna happen? Somehow this conversation is going to flutter into the idea of AI somewhere down the line. I bet you somewhere down the line this is going to flutter into something about AI. I promise you somehow this is going to happen. I have this feeling. So they can cut costs or whatever the fuck.
Bullshit.
Real estate prices,
Bullshit.
minimum
No,
wage
bullshit.
increases, and supply chain
Bullshit.
inefficiency
Not in Texas. There's no minimum wage increase. It's still $7.
started driving up costs. Add to that the increase in costs of beef, chicken, potatoes, along with paper products, and suddenly the simple cheap burger wasn't so cheap to make anymore.
Fake.
These changes laid the groundwork for the price hikes that we're seeing today, but they only tell part of the story. What's happening now feels different, like something has fundamentally shifted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you put her on, please?
Dude, this is a Wendy's restaurant.
Okay.
But I have to keep it real. It's not just the rise in costs that are part of doing business. It's also factors like increases to advertising spend, ballooning executive compensation packages,
13.
along with significant investments into technology.
Wait, and he can work remotely. So this guy doesn't even have to show up and he gets $113 million? And this is it's Starbucks. Yeah, of course. They probably sold what 50 drinks to make that much money? They need to Trump needs to get me to be like the fast food czar. Like, I'll sort this out so fast. Like, what I would do is I would go to every fast food restaurant and I would order the food and I would compare it to the photos. And if it's not the same, They get sued for false advertising, and somebody from the company has to go to jail. They get to decide who it is. If they want to have the janitor go to jail, that's fine. But they got actually we'll do it random. Everybody gets to draw straws, and the person that gets the short straw goes to jail.
What kind of Squid Game shit is this? I don't think that's a good idea. I do not think that's a good idea. That's not what people want to work for. Is this one of those strange hot takes that JR tells me that he makes? It probably is.
That's right. That way it's fair. And with all the executive leadership, because we don't know exactly, random board member. We don't know exactly whose fault it is, so we're just going to have to guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's equality. Yeah, that's fair. And so,
I guess in a strange way, that puts...
Art with Ryan said, "I'ma leave real quick.
All right,
I'll be back in a bit."
I think in a weird way, as much as that's not going to work, no one's going to actually agree to any of that. In a weird way, that keeps everyone on their fucking toes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it strangely keeps everyone on their toes, so there's no slacker. So if you fuck up, you going to jail. You know what I'm saying? So that puts everyone on their toes, even the janitor. So he'll make sure he does his job and everything. You know what I'm saying? You know how funny that sounds? It's as fucked up as that is actually kind of a best way to keep people to do their fucking job.
Be a good start.
Compensation packages, along with significant investments into technology, like mobile apps for these companies. Oh, and of course, stock buybacks, returning billions of dollars to shareholders. But don't just take my word for it. Let's look at some of the numbers. According to the Federal Reserve's economic data, food away from home, which is the category that includes fast food, this rose roughly 28.5% over the last 5 years. But general overall inflation rose only 24%.
That's the thing is, after COVID, this is what happened. COVID gave them an excuse to raise prices massively, and then they never went down. That's what happened with all of these fast food restaurants.
Now, at a first glance, these price hikes might seem like a logical reaction to the rising costs of inflation. But let's dig a bit deeper. While the cost of doing business has increased, profit margins at many major chains have held steady or even grown. Take McDonald's, for instance. Despite facing higher expenses, their operating margins climbed to nearly 46%.
46%? What the fuck? Bro, you know how big 46% is? Shit, do you know how big as 5 or 10% is? 46%? Holy shit!
Up from around 41% in 2019. Now, that's not just covering costs.
4 times?
And if you don't think operating margin is the best indicator to decide this, let's look at their net profit margin.
Holy shit!
From 28% right before the pandemic hit.
28? That's disgusting.
That's crazy.
Look at this.
What the fuck?
Way up to over 33%.
Don't. It's not because of the war in Ukraine or Gaza that fucking Taco Bell got rid of 5-layer nachos. It's nothing to fucking do with it. Don't blame Ukraine on this.
2024. Now, this has led McDonald's to begin to take some drastic measures to try to convince customers they not only aren't being greedy, but also that they still can provide value with their menu.
Bullshit.
But more on that in a moment. This pattern isn't unique to McDonald's, though. Chipotle has reported record revenues fueled by menu price increases of nearly...
Chipotle is really good. Chipotle's fine. There's nothing... Chipotle doesn't do anything wrong. But actually, that's not true. They need to have better meat quality. But other than that, yeah, Chipotle's great. Big fan of Chipotle. Eat Chipotle all the time. It's the other... Well, yeah, people get E. coli and they get sick. But that's... right?
15% over the last 2 years. In fact, during the making of this video, they just announced another 2% price increase to their menu, which brings the total number of price hikes to 7 times since 2021. And Chipotle technically isn't fast food and is more in the category of fast casual dining, but they still are a part of that food away from home stat that I provided from the Federal Reserve.
It's different.
And so we can still learn a lot about their recent financial performance over the years. Chipotle's net margin is higher now than ever before.
And you compared this to McDonald's. McDonald's was more than twice as much as this. See this? They're at 10%. This is like a lot of companies have between like an 8 and 12% operational margin. This is normal. But it's McDonald's that's the bad one. 10% is fair. Yeah, they're making 10%. That's nothing.
Has been steadily climbing since the pandemic.
Hardly.
However, the margins did tank before the pandemic due to foodborne illness issues the company was facing.
It's fake.
But if
It's
we
made
also
up by
look at their
McDonald's.
revenue and net income, that has also been rising steadily since the last quarter of 2020. And here's the kicker. Chipotle's former CEO, Brian Niccol, earned over 17
That's not fair, though, because no. Chipotle, it's different. So with Chipotle, they're still growing as a business, and they're opening more new stores. So their operating income is going to go up because they have more places to grow because they haven't hit a market cap yet. Whereas McDonald's hit a market cap 50 fucking years ago. So there's a total, like, you can't look at total net revenue. You have to look at what the operating margin is. Because if you're making 150 million versus 50 million at the same net revenue, that's the real fucking conversation. $20 million. That's not even that. No. I'm not sponsored by Chipotle. Like, I'm not. I eat Chipotle at least 3 times a week.
God damn, I hate you.
I don't want to hear this.
I hate you.
This is bullshit. It's McDonald's and Taco Bell that are wrong. Chipotle's fine.
million in 2022 and over
No, I don't have
22
stock
million
in
in
them.
2023, including significant bonuses tied to the company's profitability. This is
Oh.
over 1,300 times the median pay of a Chipotle worker. Now, whether you think the CEO is worth 1,300 times the average worker or not, it's clear that they are making more money now than ever before.
They are.
And Chipotle also just announced in July that they were authorizing a $400 million stock buyback program.
Wow.
Essentially funneling excess cash back to shareholders instead of, I don't know, reinvesting it into operations or finding out ways to keep prices stable. Additionally, Yum Brands, which owns Taco Bell,
This is...
KFC and Pizza Hut instituted price hikes in 2023 and cited that it was a last resort option
Bullshit. You've been doing that for years.
Later
They're
that
lying.
year, clocking in a 21% increase in total revenue.
Look at this.
Over its
Look at this.
pre-pandemic
This is
earnings.
insane.
Now, since then, executives at the company have authorized a $2 billion share repurchase program, returning $678 million to its shareholders. Now, there's no secret here that greater amounts of capital are being redirected to corporate level costs, such as C-level executive compensation. Now, critics argue that inflation has become a convenient excuse for these price hikes.
True.
Yes, labor and ingredient costs are up, but why are executive salaries soaring at the same time? Why are companies...
Because they're soaring with the price of the company, because their salary is part of the equity that they're given in the company, and that's the compensation package. They're not paying the guy a big bag of $200 or $20 million. They're paying him with a stock package. That's the reason why he's getting a lot of money.
He's increasing ad budgets and launching multi-million-dollar stock buybacks while
It's
citing
totally different.
higher costs as the reason for passing price increases onto consumers. Now, in some cases, the numbers suggest these companies are taking advantage of inflationary pressures to pad their profits.
100%.
In fact, a recent analysis
Especially
from the
McDonald's.
Economic Policy Institute found that corporate profits accounted for over 40% of price increases across several industries during the pandemic recovery period. Now, while fast food isn't singled out in this analysis, it does seem to fit into this broader.
Think about it's going to be the worst one. So it's more than 40%. Because if you're looking at all of the different food, and then fast food is the worst offender, then you would have to logically assume, and that the other prices, like Applebee's hasn't gone up that much. Chili's somehow is fucking cheaper. So it's actually fast food is probably 60 or
I didn't know Chili's was still around.
70%.
Trend. This narrative has led to a huge disconnect from corporations to their consumers, particularly around their pricing and the value propositions they offer.
True.
But the interesting thing here is some of these companies are faring much better than others. Chipotle, for example, is continuing to grow in spite of their price hikes. And
Because they haven't reached market saturation for having enough stores in an entire nation. They're not worldwide like McDonald's. So in 20 years, 30 years, Chipotle is going to have the same problem. They're growing because they're a new company and they have room to grow. But McDonald's and Taco Bell doesn't have that same room because they've already had a hegemony over fast food for 50 years. It's totally different. Easy excuse. No. It's a fact. This is a fact. You're defending this bullshit? No. What do you mean I'm defending this bullshit? Their profit margins are at like 10 to 15%. McDonald's is at 30. So how the fuck am I defending it? No. They're growing. How many stores? Look. There's 3,000 Chipotle. There's 13,000 McDonald's. You see that? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean.
Thinking about going solar, but not sure whether it's worth it for your home? Well, before you get quotes, there are 3 things you need to know about going.
Bro really likes Chipotle. I'm not a Chipotle stockholder. This is an objective fact that their net revenue is going to go up because their business is still in the phase of growth and the product is good that people are buying it. I'm not a stockholder. I eat there all the time. I know this.
So historically haven't offered any sort of value meal. While restaurants like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, and others are all trying to entice customers by trying to add more value deals.
They're
to their
lying.
menu.
They're not value. See, it used to be the dollar menu, and then it was the value menu, and then they got rid of it.
But of course, fast food chains have their side of the story too. They argue that
their side, which is lying and wasting people's fucking money, and then advertising products that you look at the Taco Bell drive-thru, and it looks one way. You get the product, it's not the same thing.
these price hikes are a necessity, not some evil choice. And their executives have pointed to some real pressures.
They're using AI at the drive-thru at Taco Bell now. They keep
what I say? What did I say? Bro, what did I say? I just said, I told you somehow the AI thing is going to segue its way into this. I knew it as soon as I said, bro.
Right? This used to never happen. Never.
I said it.
Never get my order right. Now they always get it right. It's AI. Guaranteed.
What'd I say?
Wages, volatile supply chains, and of course inflation as reasons why fast food just isn't as cheap as it used to be. Now, back in May of 2024, social media posts about an $18 Big Mac meal went so viral that McDonald's actually had to begin a campaign trying to debunk some of the myths that were being spread about
oh yeah, you're going to debunk your own menu.
The prices. Remember this graph from earlier? Yeah, well, McDonald's disagrees with a lot of it.
I bet they do 40. You said 46% profit margin? What a joke.
What's behind this is that while data on its own is rather objective, the way in which data can be presented often is very subjective.
That's true.
Including this video here.
Great point.
However, in their blog post, McDonald's cited bits of information from the article labeling them as myths. Blog post, McDonald's cited
McDonald's raised prices. False. McDonald's overall 5-year increases are closely connected to the increase of to-run restaurants, which have gone up. No, that's not true, because then the other restaurants haven't gone up that much. That's fake. McDonald's raised prices so much that every menu prices increased more than 3 times. Well, they're just trying, okay, so look at this. They're just trying to fit. This is like, you need to write a 500-word essay. So like you're just writing bullshit. This is the same question. McDonald's price increases are the result of greed and price gouging. Restaurant margins are largely the same as they were in 2019.
Beanbag said DBH Sonic 2 was a bop.
I told you guys this thing was going to jump into AI somewhere down the line. I knew that was going to be the culprit in this.
2019. So yeah, interesting you use the frame of reference right before you pumped up all the prices. So you go and you say that they're moving the goalpost. So no, look at it. See, it was down here. This is an operating margin. This means if they make $1, they're getting 30 cents back on that fucking dollar. This is insane. 10 years ago, shit changes. It's a percentage. This is different. They're lying. McDonald's Big Mac meal has increased in price. See, this is what they're doing. They're using 2019 as a reference point because that's when they began doing this. But if they had to use 2018 or 17, all of these myths would have been reality. That's what they're doing. Come on, man. You think chat doesn't know percentages?
What? Why is he saying that?
Yes.
McDonald's cited bits of information from the article labeling
10-piece McNuggets meal has increased in price by 95.5%. No, but it's increased by like 50%. Everything is based off of 2019 because that's when they started doing this.
as myths, like, quote, McDonald's raised prices at a rate nearly double the national rate of inflation. And over in their fact that over the last 5 years, prices have increased around 40% due to higher input costs such as salaries, food, and paper products. And while that may be very well true, the article cites McDonald's menu prices have doubled 100% since 2014 across popular items, the highest of any chain we analyzed. But you know, okay,
That's right.
let's just assume McDonald's was confused on this.
No, they're selectively using data that is deliberate misrepresentation.
And they cited from 2019 on as opposed to what the article says, which is 2014. So what about another myth? Well, once again, McDonald's cites the article quoting, McDonald's medium fries have increased by 138% since 2019. But McDonald's claims the truth is the average price of a medium fry in 2019 was $2.29, and now in 2024, the average price is $3.29. Okay, well, the article actually says that the 138% increase is from 2014 to 20.
See, I fucking knew it. I knew they're lying. See, this is it. See, they're using 2019 as a frame of reference because in 2014 it was way less. This is it. See, they're looking. They're a private company. They can do what they want. If you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Oh, God, Jesus Christ.
Okay, to be fair, I do actually have 2 McDonald's shrimps within arm's reach of me. So I was going to say that I have, but I actually haven't. I still go to McDonald's. But why are you defending this bullshit?
Good question.
This is ridiculous. Do we need to go back to the fucking operating margin again about this? Was it 40 fucking 6% operating margin? I'm pretty sure the fucking cartels are lower than that. You have a worse operating margin selling cocaine. This is insane.
Oh, I don't know about that one, bro.
Stop being a dick eater.
2024, not 2019. Now, I could go on.
And a McFlurry...
A
McFlurry, whenever they came out, it was like $1.30 or $1.70. I remember this because I asked my mom for one. She said, no, I'll only get you an ice cream cone because McFlurries are overpriced. And I cried at the McDonald's lobby. I remember this. I was like 5 years old or 4 years old or something. And this is right whenever they...
You remember the
McFlurries,
4?
And I was sitting there crying. It was one of the worst things that ever happened to me.
I don't know if this...
And now they're $5 fucking dollars.
That's something you should be repeating to people.
$4.40. And by the way, this is the small. There's no reason for this. And it doesn't, and the machine doesn't even work half the time.
Now, I could go on, but I think you're starting to get the point. Okay, but there are some who argue that rising wages are really the one to blame for
Lying again. Lying again. That's not even true. McDonald's is paying the same, the minimum wage in Texas. It's been the same since 2009. They're
new prices.
McDonald's
claiming
is
this trend of increased minimum wage could lead to job losses and widespread
fucking no.
Restaurant closures. However, the evidence suggests otherwise. Economists at the Economic Policy Institute have extensively researched this issue and found that higher wages would likely have the opposite effect, modestly stimulating consumer demand, boosting business activity, and creating job growth. Okay, but what about fast food prices? Are they rising because of higher wages?
No, that's not the reason why. No. Don't let them turn us against each other. No. They're doing it because they have a 40% plus operating margin.
Well, yes, but not entirely for the reasons you might think. Price increases in the fast food industry are part of a long-standing trend, not a sudden phenomenon caused by wage hikes. Because while the consumer price index for all items rose by 3.2% between April 2022 and April 2023, fast food prices surged 5.2%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Meanwhile, the cost of groceries increased by only 1% during that time. But that was then, and this is now, and fast food has been getting desperate over the last year. McDonald's has had to really try to entice customers with their nationwide $5 value meal. And many
So, this is bullshit. So, this used to, the original dollar menu, this was the value fries. This was, and any drink used to be $1 at McDonald's. These burgers right here, this was a cheeseburger. This could have been a McDouble as well. Also, if you look at the size of a McNugget, it's about this big, right? So you're looking at burgers that are about this big. This is like White Castle level burger size. It's tiny. And so, yeah, you had $1. So this used to be $4. So even their big deal right now used to be like in 2017, 2018, not 2019, where they like to use as a reference. It used to be $1 cheaper, and it was all the time.
And many competitors have followed suit. Burger King offered their $5.
And also, if you look at this soda here, that drink cup is a 20-ounce drink cup. I know that because I have them. And
I don't know how. I don't know if this. I'm not saying what he's saying isn't true or not, because I'm not that far deep into fast food like that. But like, this says a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Not because this is the statistic. It's just like, you get what I'm saying, right? It's just like
large drink. So at McDonald's, there are 3 different sizes of drinks. There's small, which is a 16-ounce, or I think it's 12. And then there's a 20-ounce, which is medium. And then large is 32-ounce. And so they're showing a medium drink. And so you used to be able to also get a large drink for $1. It's 30 ounces now? No way. No, it's not. Let me read it.
okay.
Those right there, this was a 32-ounce drink.
This is so, like, I don't know if this is room. Oh God, I don't know how I feel about this. This says a lot more to the Asmon goal than you think. Like, I'm not saying his points are not off or anything. I don't know, but like, Jesus Christ, dude, like this.
And now it's 30.
Introducing
I don't know how I
the
feel
new
about this.
Power Plus snowblower, a powerful compact snowblower from the #1.
Like, the more he gets in deep into it, the more I'm just kind of like, kind of like squinting my head. I'm like kind of like tilting my head, like,
Because they used to say on the drink that it was 32 ounces, and they took it off. Medium, large.
Excuse me.
This was always how it was at every place. Medium was 20 or 21 ounces. Large was 32 ounces. And extra large was 44 ounces for a drink. For my whole life, that's how it's been. McDonald's changed it. And now it's 30. And they doubled the fucking price. Do you remember McDonald's drinks used to be $1? They were $1 for any size drink. Okay, see, now we all remember that. So they doubled the price. They lowered the amount of soda. And they want to call this a myth. They think we're fucking stupid.
Meal, Wendy's did a $4 meal deal, and Taco Bell launched a $3 value deal, all in an attempt to increase traffic to their stores. Now it's clear they have a real problem on their hands, not only in terms of general sentiment around their value propositions, but also in regards to pricing. But fast food companies also have to reckon with fast casual offerings eating away at their market share. Chipotle, Kava, and Sweetgreen have all reported a much different outlook on this.
Sweetgreen.
And while yes, they typically attract a higher income cohort,
Bro, I never heard of Kava myself, but what's Sweetgreen?
it's not only them that are buying these products. Kava, the Mediterranean chain, only raised prices 12% from 2019 to 2023. And as a result, they reported increases to their top and bottom lines. Now, of course, they have a much smaller footprint than McDonald's, but when that Big Mac is contesting the prices of some of these fast casual offerings, it seems like an inevitable shift is bound to occur here. And even casual sit-down restaurants like Applebee's and Chili's are getting involved into this value war. Chili's 3 for Me meal deal for $10.99 has created...
Listen, hear that again.
...into this value war. Chili's 3 for Me meal deal for $10.99...
That is crazy. 3 things for $10.99.
...has created a resurgence in traffic to
Look at that.
Restaurants, resulting in their foot traffic soaring 33%, which capped off 6 straight months of increases. So are the higher prices just the costs of doing business? I don't see how one could come to that conclusion with how much profits have increased over the last 5 years for most of these chains. To me, this does seem like some good old-fashioned corporate greed, masked in layers of manipulation and excuses.
McDonald's is lying about everything, and so is Taco Bell, and Wendy's is almost as bad. KFC, I used to be able to go to KFC with my mom, and we would get a 20-piece bucket. And do you remember... So you used to be able to get the big boys, right? And you could get, I would get one and my mom would get one. And they were so big that you would have a handle on it. Remember that? And we would get the whole thing for $20. That's a bucket of soda. Yes. Yes. It's $20. I looked at it recently. It was like $42 just for...
Whoa! What the fuck? That's a giant jump.
Taco Bell, please. Say what you want at McDonald's, but take Taco Bell out of this. oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to speak negatively about the company that had an active lawsuit against them for false advertising because of how big of a difference it was between the food that was advertised on the menu and the thing that the user got. Oh yeah, but no, let's not say anything bad about Taco Bell, guys. And you know what? I went to Taco Bell about a week ago. They didn't even ask me what kind of sauce I wanted. You used to be able to get frijoles or like pintos and cheese, and they would give you a taco shell to dip it in. And then in about 2000,
This is such the chubbiest thing I've ever heard. This is the most chubbiest thing I ever heard. I'm not even gonna play. I'm not gonna play as if it's not. It's just every time when he mentions like he's trying to make a point, I'm fine if he uses himself, but it's just the more he uses himself, I keep wondering why are you so damn skinny?
in 10 or 2012, they stopped giving you the taco shell and they started charging you money for it.
And now for fast food places like McDonald's,
I remember
Burger King,
this.
and others, customers not only have to battle with higher prices, but also with the lack of convenience and quality of the food itself. Because at the end of the day,
Ryuga
when all
Samurai
is said
said
and
Ica
done,
rolling on the floor
infinite
laughing.
growth
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm talking about? Right? It's just like the more he gets into it, the more I'm like, bro, how are you so fucking
the goal. And the fiduciary duty to shareholders comes before customers, employees, suppliers, or
What a
vendors.
bunch of dick
But it
eaters.
is really interesting to see how some companies simply choose to operate differently while still achieving success. If you want to learn about a prime
Just
example,
soulless
I
dick
covered the
eaters.
story of Costco and the interesting approach they've taken to capitalism. You can learn about it here. Thanks so much for watching.
What a great video. But this guy, the only thing I don't like about this video is
There's been a lot of talk online.
He let them off the hook in too many ways. He didn't need to do that. Like, they should be ashamed of that. I'll link you guys a video. Somebody needs to be talking about this shit. Established context. Context has in fact been established. There's the video. Give it a like. That's a great video. What's the fix for capitalism? Simple. You bring back the dollar menu. Like, and how does Trump not have an opinion on this? He eats as much fast food as I do. Like,
I don't know about that one, bro.
how do you not, like, doesn't he notice? Like, because he's the kind of guy that probably does notice how much this shit is. He's a billion. It doesn't matter. Like, if you're no, because you feel like a fucking idiot when you're spending extra. Like, you guys, how many of you guys, you make plenty of money. You go eat wherever you want, doesn't matter. But you overcharge because you feel stupid. You feel stupid. You feel like you're getting manipulated. Like they're getting one
Okay.
over on you.
I'm gonna let him have his last say. It's at the far end of the stream, and then I'll just end it from here.
I ain't a punk. I ain't no bit. Exactly. Yes. I bet he doesn't even know the price. Somebody in that administration needs to fucking tell him about this then. Because he's right. McDonald's is like, it is the core of America. It's like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, football, basketball, and Walmart. And that's pretty much about it. Like, this is insane. Like, the $5 value meals are smaller than the old. Greedflation made me not want a fast food. Burger King restaurant had a meeting. District manager told us to fill less fries in the bag. You remember back in the day at Burger King whenever they used to put an onion ring in the top of your fries? Remember that? Who remembers that? They never do that. I don't think I don't know why people put up with this shit. And it's ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't either. Yeah, like,
At Harbor Freight, we do business differently from the other guys. We design and test our own tools and sell them directly to you. No middleman. No folks in suits telling us to raise prices for the heck of it. Just quality tools you can trust at prices you'll love. Every aisle, every day. That's how.
Alright guys, I'm gonna jump out of here. Have a great night. Great stuff, guys. I'm jumping out. I'm pretty much tired. There's nothing more I have to do here. I'll do the rest another time. So that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. All that great stuff. Thank you guys for coming in. I'm out. Bye bye, guys.